Very exciting day today because I didn't forget my wallet and I actually got the RB from the machine shop.
Instead of having a freeze plug here, now we have an NPT plug that is not gonna come off.
First step is cleaning everything and kind of going through. Got to get some of the surface rust off the block. We are being joined, as I told you guys, by a very special guest. Kevin Lawrence is in the house.
What up?
Obviously me and Alberto, well I guess, Alberto, how many RBs have you done?
1 or 2.
Okay, so for Alberto, he's confident in doing everything, but Kevin offered to stop by and help. What's your experience with RBs, Kevin?
I've probably done about 2 dozen or so now.
All right, so
I've got my hands in a couple of them.
It's fair to say that Kevin knows what he's doing. He actually just finished up an RB32 build too. I'll put a sound clip in, the one from your story, dude. Dude. It sounds rad.
Yeah, that thing, I'm super excited to get that to Martin, get it tuned. So hopefully end of this week I'll get with Martin, get that thing tuned, and we'll see some good numbers out of it.
Hopefully we can, well, who's gonna get tuned first? That's the question. Well, you're ready, I'm not.
Mine's ready, yeah. So
yeah, probably you.
You're only like a day or 2 behind me.
Yeah.
You're good to go.
It's kind of ironic that Kevin's here helping out too, because I guess you could say in a way the Skyline and the whole like right-hand drive nature was kind of inspired by Kevin, because I was talking with him a bunch about the S15 and like he kind of embraces the whole right-hand drive practice car thing, and is kind of where I got the idea from. So much so that you would even like daily right-hand drive cars around for.
Yeah, I had a Pulsar for a while. That was my daily, just really to kind of get comfortable and just more time right-hand drive driving. Just recently sold that, so like I'm kind of like on the hunt for another one, but I really want to pick up like a 14 or a 13, just kind of right-hand drive, like fun skid pad car. So I'm in the market for that, but until then I'm just kind of playing around with the race car or the Enjuka R32, and we're just driving it whenever I can.
What's cool too is this RB setup is actually kind of almost, I guess you could say, a replica of the setup that Kevin ran in his Pro 2 car, and I guess that RB's in the Skyline now, right?
Yep. Yeah, it's really the same build that we spec'd out for Adam's car. Same Tomei pond cam, same piston, same rods, still 2.5 liter crank in it. So really the motor, once it's all bolted together with the proper size turbo, is probably good for about 650, 700. But I think you're probably running around 450, 500 is what you're looking for out of it. So.
Yeah, so it'll be definitely overbuilt, and obviously with the RB, there's so many like weird little particular things. Like he already noticed, he started looking at the head, and I guess since we're running RB26 covers, you have to switch the studs from the back to the front, otherwise they'll hit the baffles. So
we're swapping these guys here out so that we can keep a lot of the oil from going up into the baffles and pushing out the valve cover.
Definitely an exciting day. A lot of new like exciting stuff. It's not a boring dumb SR anymore that we're working on. While I'm cleaning the crankshaft, I figured I'd kind of show you guys and explain a little bit better about the extended crankshaft collar. So Kevin was telling me there's actually a factory one that they have to machine off, and then this one looks like it's just kind of slid on and then it's held on with an Allen key.
Yeah, they got some dowels on it. It's usually like press fit. It's pretty tight to go on the crank.
So what this does is it increases the amount of engagement in the oil pump, because normally this flat spot isn't as long. So in the oil pump, I guess what would happen if it had the shorter one? Would it strip the oil pump or strip the crank?
It usually will do a little bit of both. It'll damage both the pump and the crank itself, but in the end, the worst is what happens is the pump gear itself will shatter and crack, and then once that happens, you've lost all your oil pressure, and then the motor is just pretty much at that point just bound for failure. So this here, having the drive, gets full engagement on the drive of the oil pump, and will keep that from kind of shaving it down.
Was that the factory one?
Yeah, so you can see there how far the factory, maybe a quarter of the actual pump on the factory oil pump.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So yeah,
definitely.
The extended ones definitely help get the full engagement and help protect the pumps from shattering themselves.
Kevin used to hate it when I would call an RB a flawed Jay-Z. I don't know. That was yeah, but now we're doing it. But yeah, the thing is,
someone talked you into it.
Yeah, well, I guess I was talking to him earlier. He says that theoretically this should be more reliable than a stock Jay-Z.
Yes.
Okay. I'm down with
stock
that.
Jay-Z.
Yeah, than a stock Jay-Z. Stock Jay-Zs are pretty rad. I mean, they hold like 700 wheel.
Yeah, it's impressive really what they can do.
So all those little dumb things that we'll be showing you that we're doing to this engine is to basically make it on par with a Jay-Z and fix the flaws of the RB.
Correct.
Yeah, well, I'm not hating on it though. I mean, it's obviously a rad engine that's like famous for a reason, but I mean, we want to make it last, you know? Another saga of broken motors. So we always wipe anything where a bearing or a piston, basically any of the machine surface, right, Alberto? Mm-hmm. With ATF. And what does that do?
So look at this. It cleans what you can't clean with anything else. It's high detergent oil, so it lubricates and cleans the surface at the same time.
I both really enjoy building engines, but get really stressed out just because you have to be so meticulous. And there's so many little things that you could do wrong. Like you have to be so careful about cleaning things and how you assemble things and torque specs. But it's really, really nice that we got these tables out here from the warehouse, so we have a lot more workspace than that cluttered little area that we usually work on. Again, saving us with all the little random tidbits of knowledge. With the, I always say it wrong. It's not VCT, it's VTC, right?
VCT.
VCT? Okay.
Variable cam time.
All right, whatever. Anyway, I had to get an RB26 cover, or I guess I should say backing plate for the front cover because it doesn't bolt up to the RB25 one. I guess you can cut it and you can actually make it work, but it's kind of a pain. Where this one, the RB26 cover will bolt right up. You just have to cut off one of these tabs. This guy right down there. So I'll just grind that off real quick. Crankshaft time.
Yep.
This time around, just to be extra cautious, we had the machine shop check the clearance for the bearings, and we also had them do the ring gap on the pistons, so we don't have to worry about that, and we can just kind of throw everything together. And the head's already assembled too, so that's rad.
I already inspected it, cleaned it. I don't clean it, I checked that it was clean.
Oh, you gotta double check my work.
Yeah.
I don't blame you.
And we're gonna take these cranes.
Look at him lifting it with 2 little fingers. You're so strong, Big Boost. If you can't tell too, we did do ARP main studs. Not totally necessary, but always a good touch.
I love playing with lube.
I talked about how you move the studs. I didn't talk about these things.
Well, yeah, because the studs will hold that.
Gotcha.
But yeah.
So you move them all to the front?
So I moved those to the front. Those are to help keep the sling oil off the camshaft from kind of going up in the air and then running out through the through the PVC or PCV system of the valve cover. So it just kind of helps keep some of the oil windage down, so it's not all blowing out of the valve cover itself.
All right, for reference as well, I don't know if we ever talked about the specs, but 9.0 CP pistons. I think we also use CP on both the. Did we use CP on the 2J? Or did the Brian Crower kit come with their own pistons?
It comes with CPs.
Okay, so CP pistons on that as well. And then we actually did Brian Crower 625 plus rods. Got recommended these by a few people for some very serious reasons of other ones not holding power. So we won't name names. Just as we go through, just kind of starting to paint and kind of clean up as much as I can. Alberto, what's the current status? Give me an update.
In the rear main seal, all the pistons are installed, crankshaft is installed. Crankshaft main caps are all torqued down to 60 foot-pounds, and then all the rod caps are torqued down to 50 foot-pounds.
I showed this in the camera briefly before, but in case you guys were wondering what oil pump we're going with, this is the Nitto oil pump that we got from Raw Brokerage. Definitely a step up from the N1 oil pump. Kevin, correct me if I'm wrong, does this one have billet gears inside of it?
Yeah, that one should be billet gears, so pretty much breaking that one's going to be a tough feat, so it should be all right.
The only thing though that someone, I think my friend Lee, did bring to my attention is that since it does pump a much higher volume of oil, there is a chance that I'll have more blow-by than had I run N1 oil pump. However, I guess it's better to actually be pumping oil throughout the system. Well, you were telling me though that I should modify my oil pan.
Yeah, definitely go with a bigger oil pan just because that pump does pull so much through. I've seen RVs before to where like a lot of high RPM limiter driving, it'll actually completely dry the sump out and pull air into the pump, which obviously at that point it's kind of game over. So definitely would look into soon getting the factory oil pan like extended to hold a little bit more oil in it for sure. Because
there's no aftermarket options apparently, so we'll be doing that. Points for RB for using a paper gasket instead of RTV.
It had RTV on it when we got it.
Oh yeah, it did, huh?
There was no gasket?
No. Gasket, it was RTV.
Good.
Look at that oil pump. Where did you put it?
It's over there.
It's over here. It's a mess.
RTV like crazy.
Yeah, that's how it was when I took it out. That was going on to RTV.
And not just RTV, it's red. Yeah, the red stuff. That's how you know they're for real.
Tight too.
Fits like a glove. A company called SSS Motorsports actually reached out to me on Instagram when they saw the RB build, and they wanted to send me out their oil block adapter. So it's a rad billet piece that we'll just bolt on. It's got a nice little O-ring in the back, and then we can run an external mounted oil filter, because on these engines it's really, really difficult to get into where the oil filter is. Is it because of the steering rack maybe that it's hard to get in there? There's just a lot of stuff in the way. Like the engine mounts and the steering shaft.
Intake manifold, all that. And it's kind of tucked under, so yeah, having the remote filter helps out a lot.
And then we can run some nice AN lines to it. So massive thank you to those guys. As always, I'll put a link down in the description if you guys want to check it out. Shout out to Canada, one of my favorite places in the world. You guys rock. Looks so nice with a freshly painted block. Comes with all the hardware, and then there's an inner O-ring and an outer O-ring, and we'll just bolt it right up. Kevin, break down with the N1 water pump versus the stock one. Oh my God.
What? They're kind of terrible looking. Is that better?
Yeah, that looks a little bit better.
The basic 25 one's got more fins on it, and it doesn't have the back plate that the N1 does. So pretty much this kind of helps keep it from cavitating at higher RPM. Now the water pump's poking me. But I mean, other than that, really they're the same pump, other than just the blade design changes so that these don't cavitate as much. Alberto's child.
I was about to say, you guys should...
like this, I guess.
Is there a gasket for it?
No, it just uses RTV.
Oh, I was gonna say, this would be like one of the things where they say, like, call up AutoZone and ask for an N1 RB water pump gasket. Oh no, wait, they don't stock those.
There was a certain engine I had, and it was like a
Nissan
or something.
Yeah.
I don't know, dude, that's pretty bad. How's bead game, Alberto? Not strong?
It's really hard. I'm doing like on the air without holding it against anything, so it's really hard to stay my whole body steady to keep it steady. I mean,
if you guys remember of us talking about the different like plugs and restrictors and stuff, this is where the plug went, this is where the restrictor went to let a little bit less oil into the head, and then this is the normal one. Got a slightly colder Mishimoto thermostat from the homies. Hopefully that in conjunction with the clutch fan will keep this thing ice cold. I was dealing with an exterminator guy because our house has had like this amp problem lately. I think it's just because of the rain and because like we get the outside treated so all the bugs come inside. And I missed the head getting put on. So sad. These little bolts in here and then just the studs. There's no other random stuff in the front like on the SR?
Nope, just the 3 auxiliary ones and then that, then the main head studs themselves.
Cool. What I really like about the design of the RB is they actually have like notches in the cams, so you don't have to pull the cams out in order to get to the studs. It doesn't get simpler than that. So you just line the dot up, you line the dot up. Why do I feel like it's way more difficult than that on the SR? And line the dot up.
Yeah, there's nothing to line up the SRs, you just gotta count it.
Okay, so it's not just me. Yeah, okay. I was always like, it's always such a pain. And plus having the adjustable cam gear so always makes me second guess everything. Third pass on the head studs. What are you going to?
this is 30, 60, 80. Right now I'm doing the first out of the third pass. So this is pretty much my 7th pass.
So what that means basically he does them to 30, goes back around, does them to 60, goes back around, does them to 80. I'm sorry I haven't been filming as much detail as I'd probably like. We've just all been like very focused and also very hungry. Kevin dipped out. He was a massive help. Massive thank you to Kevin for coming by and coming out of his way to help save us a lot of headache and a lot of time. So we kind of started mocking things up and just kind of bolting things to the engine just to find out if it's going to be needing any modifications or anything. Right away, we noticed that the water neck is basically touching the intake manifold. So Alberto is probably just going to take that and kind of do a little pie cut so you can clock it down a little bit. We'll have plenty of room even with the alternator there. And then over here, we're trying to figure out how we're going to run the water line for the turbo because that fitting is pretty close to the manifold there. And then kind of putting the downpipe on and figuring out there, okay, what fitting are we going to use for the head drain? So lots of kind of just like planning and mapping out and figuring out all the stuff that we don't have that we're going to need. But I think right now our like realistic goal is to hopefully get it mounted up in the car tomorrow. It's definitely not going to be running anytime soon. It's going to need a lot of like little odds and ends. But if we can do that, then we can get a drive shaft ordered and start figuring out and planning out all the other stuff that needs to get changed. This thing's looking so pretty though. So excited for it. A subscriber by the name of Corey actually sent me a front cover for the 26 that already has a hole cut out since we're going to be needing to cut out a hole for the variable timing. So that'll just kind of go right like this. However, I kind of want to use this as a template and cut a hole out of my red one because that'll look much nicer. The proper way to do it I guess I wouldn't say proper way, but the cool way to do it would be to actually like make a cover for it. So see, this one has no hole cut out. And then what people will do, you can take the metal and you can fab up a cover just like the 25 cover has factory. And you might be like, oh, well, why can't you just put the 25 cover on with the 26 valve covers? Because A, it doesn't really like, it just doesn't match the curves. It kind of looks funky on there. I guess it wouldn't look terrible, but just, it's just not right. We could have what we have laying around here work and probably work a couple more hours, but it's around 8 p.m. and we both kind of rather just kind of call it a night here and then get a fresh start tomorrow morning and be able to go get the stuff that we actually need. So to kind of show you where we're at right now, the long block is pretty much completely assembled. The only thing we have to do is put the oil pan on, but we need to get a rubber gasket for the pickup tube. Everything's looking really nice. Have the turbo exhaust housing, still waiting on the compressor. Manifold looks nice. Tomorrow we have some modifications to do. Got to get the front cover fitted, have to deal with this proximity, maybe figure out some different fittings for these in here. But overall, I'm getting extremely excited about this RB. They're such a good looking motor. Like Nissan may not make the most reliable engines compared to Toyota, but they're beautiful. How do you feel about this? You having fun?
I'm pretty excited about it. I can't wait to hear it.
I know.
And to see how it's gonna look on the skyline. On the skyline with a clean engine bay and a clean engine now. It's like clean everything.
So precious. Comment below, guys. What should I write in here? What should I put a sticker on that says in here? I gotta figure it out. I'm getting really excited on this thing. I guess we will follow up with you guys tomorrow, and hopefully we'll have it mounted in the car so we can at least look at it and get some more progress done. But very exciting day, and I will see you guys. No, Alberto, you are not allowed to write what I think you're gonna write.
No,
it kind of looks cool with the green stripe.
I see. Green does go with the car, right?
Meh. It does kind of look cool in there. I'll give you that. All right. Bye, guys. See you tomorrow.